Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank. First NBC Bank is a proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Have a safe Mardi Gras, folks. Enjoy the weekend. And if you get a chance, check out some really good sports activity. Of course, the state soccer championship's going on through Friday at Tag Gormley Stadium. And, of course, you can follow all the coverage at SportsNOLA.com with results and a lot of local interest where that's concerned. The high school basketball boys playoff pairings are out, and the playoffs begin Friday night on some fronts around the state. And we look forward to seeing what happens with a lot of local teams there. On the girls' side, we're getting a little bit closer to determining who's the best. So stay tuned for that as well at SportsNOLA.com. Did I miss anything? I'm a little bit dizzy about all the high school stuff right now.
There's a lot of high school stuff going on, and no better place to be. And by the way, if you're heading there on Friday, check out our story at SportsNOLA.com about just how to get to the state soccer championships, because it's right in the middle of an Endymion parade formation, but there is a way to get there. Just check it all out. We've got the story, all the details from City Park in terms of the best way to get there. And, of course, St. Paul's the one local team that will be in action on Friday.
Correct. And, of course, our daily prep baseball and prep softball reports at SportsNOLA.com. Those seasons are underway. We'll have our first radio broadcast Saturday morning from the tournament that's going on, courtesy of our friends at WGNO over at RBI Field. We'll have Brother Martin against North Gwinnett. And that's a Georgia team. That's a good team. So a 9 a.m. start. So be ready to play. Crusaders are facing a tall task against North Gwinnett. We'll have it on WGSO Saturday morning at 9. Of course, the big story locally surrounds the New Orleans Pelicans introducing DeMarcus Cousins to their roster in town, ready to roll. The Rockets Thursday night. And, of course, Omri Caspi also part of the Pelican squad now. And Lenny, this has just dominated the national news cycle for the last few days. It's kind of a lean time nationally. College basketball, college baseball just starting, but by and large, the NBA is the big story, the All-Star weekend, and, of course, the trade for Cousins. And it's the topic of conversation everywhere, and the ticket sales are reflecting that.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be interesting. You're not just going to roll a guy out there and all of a sudden it's going to make a difference. Obviously, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on what happens Thursday night at the Smoothie King Center when it's the first chance for Davis and Cousins to play together. And I think this has got to be a work in progress. You can't just throw somebody into the mix and all of a sudden expect this to work like you've been doing this for years. Will they be improved? Certainly they will be. And I think the biggest thing, as we talked about on Monday, is it's going to take Davis out of the post and get him playing more at a forward position, which is where he will be best.
It's going to be interesting to see how the other parts fit around these guys. I think they'll work well together, frankly. First of all, they like and respect each other. Secondly, their games, I think, complement each other. They can play high and low because both can play out on the perimeter. So it isn't a double low post or anything of that nature, and both are athletic. So, and in defensive rebounding, it's something they ought to own moving forward. Drew Holiday is a key to all of this. He's good at sharing the ball. He's played well. He's going to have to be that guy. And then they're going to have other guys step up now with the trades taking place because they're going to need some contributions from others. And maybe even a guy like Tim Frazier, who hasn't seen much action in recent times, will have to play some. Etuan Moore, Solomon Hill, Dante Cunningham. Of course, Caspi's coming in, and he's going to have to be a guy that's going to contend for time with the two small forwards. And then there's Terrence Jones, and what happens with him long-term also is one that we're going to be watching.
Well, keep in mind this. The trade deadline is Thursday at 2 o'clock New Orleans time, so it's possible that before the Pelicans tip off Thursday night, we will have not seen the last tinkering of the roster by Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry.
Yeah, getting close to that. We look forward to it. And getting closer to the NFL Combine as well. Next week, of course, in Indianapolis. And, well, that's going to be fun to watch. A whole lot of local guys that we'll be paying close attention to, and quite a few first-round draft picks, maybe as many as 3 from LSU in that first round. Tanzel Smart got an invite, so he'll have an opportunity to show his wares. And, of course, the Saints will be watching probably as many as 4 or 5 guys very, very closely and intently with their eyes on a first-round pick.
I think you even go beyond that. And one of the things that seems to happen is there's a little bit of, I don't want to say cat and mouse game that goes on at the Combine, but the Saints will take the opportunity to talk to guys that they may think end up in Carolina, in Tampa Bay, in Atlanta, people that they may be looking at to learn a little bit of something about them, even if they might not be in the range on their draft board, just to learn a little something there that will help them when you go to play these teams down the road.
You can read a piece I'll have at SportsNOLA.com on turning the world upside down. But in Louisiana, there are 3 schools that have been in the College World Series in Division I recently, 4 overall when you count UNO. But LSU, Tulane, and Louisiana Lafayette would be those teams. What do they have in common? They all got beat by Louisiana schools earlier this week on Tuesday night, which is truly remarkable, but I think it's a reflection of where baseball is in Louisiana.
Yeah, and look, let's give credit where credit's due to the Southland Conference. They had a tremendous middle of the week. You mentioned UNO beating LSU, Southeastern beating Tulane, Nichols beating UL Lafayette, McNeese hung 32 on UL Monroe. And let's leave the state. Houston Baptist beat Houston at Houston Tuesday night as well. So it was a great night for the Southland, which, look, we know, we've seen it down here. That's a pretty good baseball league. They can get multiple teams into the tournament. Will they get it on the level of the SEC? No, but it's still good baseball. It's being played. And those Tuesday games, a lot of times, will dictate just how successful a season is for some of the upper echelon teams from this state.
Yeah, Nichols rising. Southeastern, Matt Riser's done a great job there. He's been there. And Blake Dean has done a remarkable job on the lakefront to bring that program to where it's at now from where it was as recently as 2 years ago. And they can hit. It's all a matter of whether they're going to be able to pitch enough to give them a real shot at making the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely, and a big weekend for all of these teams. LSU's got Maryland at home. Don't sleep on Maryland. They may win the Big Ten this year. UNO is at home against Troy, and Tulane has a tough test against a UC Santa Barbara team on the West Coast. Remember, they were in the College World Series a year ago, so that will be a tough test. And we could start peeking ahead to next week when LSU heads to the big tournament at Minute Maid Park in that Friday night matchup against the top-ranked team in the country, TCU, as well.
Enticing stuff, to say the least. We are certainly looking forward to it. And that's our First NBC Bank weekend preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Lenny, it's always a pleasure. Have a safe weekend. Have a good Mardi Gras, and we'll talk next week.
Yeah, we will. And one other thing we got to mention before we go. Thursday night on the lakefront, likely the Southland Conference regular season basketball title on the line. Stephen F. Austin, UNO. Go out and check it out. Maybe you got plenty of chances to check out the Pelicans and what's going to happen there. This is for, in all likelihood, the winner of this game will win the conference championship.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's a big opportunity for the Privateers, and we're hopeful that they get a shot to pull it off because Stephen F. has dominated the league in recent years. This is a great shot for UNO. The goal is to win it, but the other goal is to finish top 2 to get that bye in the first round. So hopefully that'll happen.
No doubt.
Have a good weekend, and you have a good weekend as well. Until next time, God bless you.